The Big Bang Theory franchise cheapens Sheldon and Penny's oldest bonding scene from 16 years ago. The television show The Big Bang Theory (TBBT) became a cultural phenomenon over its 12-season run, drawing audiences in with its quirky characters, intellectual humor, and a unique blend of social dynamics. At its heart, the series was built around the relationships between the characters, particularly the unlikely but deeply meaningful friendship between Sheldon Cooper and Penny. The evolving relationship between the two, which shifted from awkwardness to camaraderie, was one of the series' most captivating storylines. However, one pivotal moment in the series stands out as a symbol of their deep connection, a scene that resonates with fans to this day. The scene in question is from the very first season, where Sheldon and Penny share a quiet moment on the couch in Penny's apartment. This moment has since become iconic, representing the foundation of their bond. However, by the time the franchise concludes, it becomes apparent that The Big Bang Theory and its spin-off, Young Sheldon, have progressively cheapened this original moment. The show, for all its success, undermines this bonding scene and the powerful relationship it signifies. The episode that encapsulates Sheldon and Penny's deepest connection occurs in the final moments of The Big Bang Theory Season 1 episode, titled The Dumpling Paradox. In this episode, Sheldon is upset after his friend Leonard begins a romantic relationship with Penny. Desiring a peaceful atmosphere, Sheldon insists on leaving the apartment but, much to his surprise, ends up sitting with Penny on her couch. Their interaction is understated, but the quiet, vulnerable exchange between the two holds immense weight, creating an emotional touchstone for the rest of the series. At the time, Sheldon was portrayed as a socially inept, highly intellectual individual with little to no understanding of social norms or human emotions. Penny, by contrast, was the outgoing, socially skilled neighbor who was initially portrayed as out of place within the group of scientists. But in this one quiet scene, there was an emotional honesty and depth that spoke volumes about their dynamic. Sheldon, in his awkwardness, was able to open up to Penny in a way he couldn't do with anyone else, and Penny, in turn, was one of the few people capable of providing Sheldon with the emotional comfort he so desperately needed. This moment, in its simplicity, encapsulated everything that made their relationship so special. It was unexpected, sincere, and born out of mutual respect. Fast forward to the later seasons of The Big Bang Theory, where the tone of their interactions began to shift. In the later seasons, as Sheldon's character evolved and became more emotionally complex, Penny's character also developed. While their bond remained strong, much of the emotional weight that was once so prominent in their exchanges began to fade, replaced by humor and predictable, often shallow, tropes. The scenes that once felt raw and genuine became predictable and largely comedic. Sheldon's quirks were milked for laughs, often undermining his deeper emotional growth. Penny, too, became more of a caricature of her earlier self, with her witty remarks and blunt observations often taking center stage. A prime example of this shift occurs in Season 9, when Sheldon and Penny's relationship is heavily reduced to slapstick comedy. In this season, Sheldon, who has slowly become more socially competent, is seen making jokes about Penny's relationship with Leonard, in a way that often diminishes the emotional depth they once shared. The playfulness of their early scenes is still there, but it feels increasingly superficial. Sheldon's vulnerability is traded for absurdity, while Penny's role as the emotional support for Sheldon becomes a punchline. The once delicate dynamic is now turned into a routine. While the later seasons of The Big Bang Theory clearly tried to maintain the charm of Sheldon and Penny's relationship, the rawness and authenticity that characterized their earlier bond became harder to find. The writers increasingly leaned into the humor of Sheldon's eccentricities and Penny's exasperated tolerance of them, rather than exploring the deeper emotional exchanges that once set them apart. This shift is problematic not only because it undermines their initial relationship, but also because it dilutes the richness of their character development. The arrival of Young Sheldon, the spin-off prequel series that delves into Sheldon's childhood, further compounds this issue. While Young Sheldon provides an entertaining perspective on Sheldon's formative years, it simultaneously strips away the unique dynamic between Sheldon and Penny that was established in The Big Bang Theory. By depicting Sheldon's early years in great detail, the spin-off undermines the mystery of his emotional development that The Big Bang Theory built so effectively over the years. It's difficult to maintain the magic of a friendship when the audience is continually exposed to the backstory that precedes it. Young Sheldon also introduces new characters who try to fill the gaps of Sheldon's early social development, often creating awkward situations with them that mirror some of the bonding moments between Sheldon and Penny. These scenarios, while humorous, detract from the depth of the original friendship because they feel like imitations rather than the real thing. The emotional complexity of Sheldon's relationship with Penny is lost in favor of drawing easy laughs from his childhood antics. The consequence is that the beauty of their bond from The Big Bang Theory is diminished, and what was once poignant becomes watered down and overly familiar. In the later seasons of The Big Bang Theory, the show often leaned into the idea that Sheldon had become a more normal person, capable of understanding emotions and social cues. This progression, while a necessary aspect of his character's development, came at the cost of the subtleties that made his original interactions with Penny so compelling. The transition from socially awkward genius to the somewhat socially competent partner made their once special relationship feel less remarkable. Sheldon's personal growth, which was long portrayed as slow and deliberate, was now presented as more of a comedic device, reducing the emotional resonance that made his bond with Penny feel authentic. The legacy of the original Sheldon-Penny bond is certainly present in the finale of The Big Bang Theory, but it is muted by the weight of years of overplayed humor and dramatic turns. The episode that would seem to mark the culmination of their relationship feels more like a culmination of jokes and cliches than a meaningful tribute to the quiet bond that once marked the beginning of their connection. By the time the series concludes, the depth of their relationship has been chipped away by years of humor at Sheldon's expense and Penny's increasingly cynical, yet loving, role as his emotional anchor. In conclusion, what started as a beautifully understated and poignant moment between Sheldon and Penny in season 1 of The Big Bang Theory gradually became diminished over time. As the show shifted away from its more subtle character-driven moments and leaned into humor and spectacle, the emotional richness of their bond became increasingly cheapened. The ultimate irony lies in the fact that the franchise, which began with a heartfelt and nuanced friendship, ultimately diluted the very essence of what made Sheldon and Penny's relationship so special. Their bond, once the cornerstone of their interactions, was reduced to a shadow of its former self, serving as little more than a comedic device to prop up the show's broader themes. The franchise cheapened the legacy of one of its most cherished relationships, and in doing so, it lost sight of the beauty that made it so memorable in the first place.